This might piss you off, but the question you keep asking, the one that you think is smart, responsible, strategic, is the exact reason why you're stuck. The question is how? How do I start? How do I get clients? How do I build a funnel? How do I know it'll work? I've asked that question for 3 years. 3 years of researching, 3 years of getting ready, 3 years of watching people dumber than me pass me by. Then I stopped asking how. And in the next 6 months, I made more money than those entire 3 years combined. So today I'm gonna break down exactly how it's destroying your life. I'm gonna back it up with real research, real philosophy, and my own story. And by the end of this video, you're either gonna hate me or you're going to finally make the decision that you've been waiting on for months. Here's what nobody tells you about the word how. When you ask how I do this, you think you're being strategic. You think you're being smart. You think you're doing your due diligence. I'm here to tell you you are not. You're protecting your identity. Think about it. If the how is unclear, you have a perfect excuse to stay exactly who you are right now. You get to keep your current life, your current comfort, your current story about why things haven't worked yet. I would start the business, but I don't know how to get clients. I would leave the job, but I don't know how I would pay rent. I would go all in, but I don't know how it'll work out. That how isn't the question, it's a shield. It's your current self protecting itself from the version of you that would actually have to show up differently. Because the moment you commit without knowing how, you are forced to become someone new. And that's terrifying. The resistance you feel isn't logical, it's existential. You're not scared of the task, you're scared of who you'd have to become to pull it off. And asking how over and over again is the most socially acceptable way to avoid that transformation. Guys, if this is hitting, if it's resonating, please subscribe. Now, let me give you some hard data on this, because I know some of you are sitting there and it's like, yeah, but being prepared is smart. Researchers at the University of Wisconsin ran a study on backup plans. Here's what they found. People who had Plan B performed significantly worse on their primary goal, not a little worse, significantly. The study found that having a backup plan literally reduced the desire to achieve Plan A. Now read that again. The backup plan didn't just sit there as a safety net. It actively drained motivation for the thing you actually wanted. This is what the how thinking really is. It's backup plan thinking. You're not building a bridge to your goal, you're building escape routes from it. Every hour you spend researching how to start a business, it's an hour you didn't spend actually starting one. Every course you buy about how to get clients is another week you didn't spend picking up the phone and calling one. Every YouTube video, ironically, you watch about how to build a funnel, yes, including this one, is another day the funnel doesn't exist. The research is clear. Preparation past a certain point isn't preparation anymore, it's avoidance wearing a suit. Now let me tell you a story about a guy who understood this better than almost anyone. In 1994, Jeff Bezos is a vice president at a hedge fund in New York City. 30 years old, he's making great money, he has a clear path to partnership. And he has this idea, sell books online. On the internet, which barely exists yet. He doesn't know how to build a website, he doesn't know how to source books at scale, he doesn't know how to ship them, he doesn't know how to do any of it. His boss takes him on a walk through Central Park and says, Jeff, this is a really good idea, but it's a better idea for someone who doesn't already have a good job. That's the voice of how, right there. That's the voice that sounds rational, that sounds safe, that sounds smart. So here's what Bezos did. He created what he calls the regret minimization framework. He projected himself to age 80 and he asked one question: will I regret not trying this? Not, do I know how to do this? Not, is the plan complete? Not, what if this fails? Just, will I regret not doing it? The answer was obviously yes, so he made the decision in less than 48 hours. The how took 30 years and it's still going. He's still figuring it out. The decision took 2 days. That's the pattern. The decision is fast and the how unfolds over a lifetime. But you will never discover the how until you make the decision. If this is hitting, guys, please subscribe. Now, I want to go somewhere where most business channels won't go. But this is the thing that actually changed everything for me. There was a teacher named Neville Goddard. He taught in the 1950s and 60s. Not a businessman, not a guru, a mystic. And his core teaching was this: consciousness is the only reality. The world you see around you is a reflection of the states you're living in internally. Here's how this this connects to the how. Goddard said the moment you ask how, you've already declared that you don't believe it's yours. Think about that. You don't ask how about things you already have. Don't ask how you'll eat dinner tonight. You don't ask how you'll get to work tomorrow. You just assume it's handled. But the moment the goal is big enough to scare you, suddenly you need the whole roadmap. Suddenly you need 17 steps. Suddenly you need to see the full staircase before you even take the first step. Goddard's teaching was radical. He said, stop trying to figure out how. Instead, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, live from the end, and occupy the state of the person who already has the thing. And then what he called the bridge of incidents, the how would build itself. Now, I know that sounds out there, but may sound woo-woo. But here's what I've experienced personally. Every major win in my business came from, after I made a decision that didn't make logical sense at the time. I didn't see the full picture. I just committed to the outcome and let the path reveal itself. The client showed up after I decided I was the guy who had those clients. The revenue showed up after I started operating like someone at that level. The opportunity showed up after I stopped asking how and started assuming done. You don't need to see the staircase. You just need to take the first step from the right state of mind. The map loads as you walk forward, but it only loads if you start walking. So let me get personal for a second here, because I'm not just saying this from theory. I was and still running an agency, Restoration Grill, serving contractors, water damage, mold, fire, roofing, HVAC, blue collar guys, high ticket stuff. Every new client meant more work, more deliverables, more of me. And I had this idea, what if we started selling, instead of marketing services, we sold leads, pay-per-lead exclusive. Small shift, but different model. The contractor only pays when the phone rings with a real opportunity, but I didn't know how to build the infrastructure. I didn't know how to price it across 44 different verticals, and I didn't know how to track attribution. I didn't know how to scale it past one market. If I had waited until I knew the how, I would still be running just a traditional agency trading hours for dollars. I made the decision and I started Demand Grid. I figured out pricing by doing it wrong first. I figured out tracking by building it and breaking it and then rebuilding it. I figured out the sales process by having bad calls originally and then learning from them. Today, that model has over 350 contractors, partners across the country. We've generated over 80 million tracked in revenue for those businesses. None of that existed when I decided. All of it was the invisible curriculum, the lessons that only appeared because I was already moving. If I asked how one more time, I'd be Googling how to start a lead gen business instead of running one. I want to leave this with you, a concept that ties all of this together. I call it the invisible curriculum. Everything you actually need to know reveals itself after you commit, not before. Think of it like a video game. The map only loads as you walk forward. If you're standing still waiting to see the full map, it never loads. You'll stand there forever. The skills you need, you'll develop them in the process. The connections you need, you'll meet them because you're in motion. The confidence you need, it comes from having done the thing, not from planning on doing the thing. The how is not your job. Your job is the decision. Your job is the commitment. Your job is to burn the ships like Cortez did in 1519, 600 men, new continent, no way home, and force your brain to solve forward instead of escape backward. The how will come, it always does, but only after you move. So here's my challenge to you. You already know the thing you've been sitting on, the decision you've been researching instead of making, the move you've been planning instead of executing. Stop asking how. Make the decision, give yourself 72 hours, take one irreversible action toward it. Not a plan, not a note on your phone, an action that makes it real. Send the email, make the call, quit the thing, launch the page, book the meeting, whatever it is, make it within 72 hours. Because here's the truth. You're not going to figure it out by thinking about it harder. You're going to figure it out by being inside it. If this hits you, please subscribe. I like to make videos like this every week for people who'd rather build something real than just talk about it. Drop a comment and tell me what's the decision that you've been avoiding. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.